The story of Das the Sauceboy is a classic tale of how an overactive ego can result in one's own destruction. We've seen this play out time and time again, both in history and on the modern-day YouTube landscape. An inexperienced nobody will begin making poor-quality videos on their laptop for the simple joy of creation, but will evolve into an overzealous monster whose egotistical self-opinions cannot be curbed in the face of controversy even when met with concrete logic. It's all too common of a phenomenon today, and these egocentric caricatures have become synonymous with celebrity culture as a whole. But Sauceboy differs from this established norm by having acquired such an attitude without even having to become famous in the first place. When looking at his channel, Sauceboy seems like your typical casual shitposter, although given his negative social blade view count in 2016, it's likely that he privated his older content. So maybe this was not always the case. Though of what we can see today, his channel started off with low-quality YouTube poops, bad thumbnails, and an infrequent upload schedule, all of which are typical telltale signs of a fairly inattentive and unskilled owner. But while both of these things are arguably true, Sauceboy would soon reveal that he was striving for much more than that of a casual hobbyist. In the next few months, his channel quickly began taking on a very derivative styling and his content shifted to anime reviews. In these, he would give his personal thoughts on varying subjects even if they didn't fall into the category of anime, all while familiar music played over an even more familiar editing style.
Good job. I like this, but it needs to be gayer. The Shotokan was originally popularized during the run of an anime called Hunter x Hunter.
In these, he would reference his high expectations for future success and often give subtextual indicators of his growing ego.
And so the series began, and while I probably spent more time talking about Mr. Bungle than anything else, I think I've done pretty well for myself.
Whether these stemmed from personal pride or pride for his work is unknown, but this behavior would be pushed to the back burner as his derivative style was brought to the forefront of the channel. He created more and more anime reviews with little to no success, but this would change when he reviewed a channel called Monkey Jones, in which he indirectly reveals a great deal of information about his own videos. For those of you who are unaware, Monkey Jones, or Jimmy, is a popular YouTuber with over 250,000 subscribers, whose flagship series was a review show called Monkey's Anime Reviews, wherein he'd use a unique style of editing and humor to talk about a random subject even when it didn't have to do with anime. I think you can see where I'm going with this. Sauceboy's videos were a blatant ripoff of Jimmy's format in nearly every sense. He copied everything from the music, editing, branding, and even the mannerisms of Jimmy himself, the reasons for which are made all too apparent in his Monkey Jones review, where he focuses his criticisms on the fact that Jimmy quit his original series and states that his content has declined as a result.
The anime itself ran from March 2016 to March 2017 for a total of 50 episodes. Sounds pretty cringe, right? Well, have you seen the show? This shit's fucking hilarious! Unfortunately, though, all good things must eventually come to an end. And on that day in March 2017, Monkey Jones killed himself. But that doesn't mean anything because he was just pretending to have depression. Turns out he's doing great, making big bucks, has a girlfriend, and even some buddies to hang out and get fucked up with whenever he wants. As far as I'm concerned, the only real monkey that ever existed hung himself back by that creek in 2017. The person you see now is nothing but a cheap copy. Even more so than I am.
At one point, Sauceboy even directly states that he himself intends on continuing the anime review series given Jimmy's unwillingness to do so.
Why did my favorite anime have to be cancelled while the guy who ended it is living it up and having a ball? And then an answer came to me. I'll just reboot that shit myself! I'm 10 times as funny as this cunt! And so the series began.
In a fitting twist of fate, Sauceboy was attempting to become Jimmy's spiritual successor by making the videos in a format that Jimmy had abandoned, but would end up becoming loathed by the very people he sought to entertain by lashing out at Jimmy himself in his Monkey Jones anime review. It was this video on Monkey Jones that got him his first and seemingly only taste of internet fame. This was due to the fact that at the time of the video's creation, Jimmy's Patreon page had a $100 donation tier in which people could pay for a future video topic. It would later be removed, but not before Sauceboy took advantage of the opportunity by paying for his review to be made into a video. Regardless, Jimmy didn't take the video well given the nature of Sauceboy's actions and the perceived selfish intent. Jimmy viewed it as a shallow attempt to get views, and as a way to thwart this, he instead instructed people to subscribe to another channel instead, called Jeremiah the Gamer 8920, but I'll get to him later.
When people pay me to review their YouTube channels, it's because they want more subscribers. They want to grow their channels. So I think it would be really funny if we got Jeremiah the Gamer more subscribers than Sauceboy.
The details of the fight between Jimmy and Sauceboy are largely meaningless, but video links will be left in the description if you want to view the entire situation for yourself. The end result of this altercation, however, was a large collection of videos on both of their channels, including 2 response videos, 3 streams, and a diss track on Sauceboy's end. Though of these, Sauceboy's response to Jimmy's initial video offers the most insight into his character. During it, he makes several remarks that reveal his belief that he exists within the same YouTube in-crowd as people such as Jimmy.
First off, I just want to say how flattered I am by this thumbnail, okay? As someone who has been studying graphic design for years on end, I know how much time and effort it takes to go into this stuff. And I especially know how much time it must have taken to get that one fucking curl in my hair. So, no matter who edited this thumbnail, I just want to say, thank you. That's a little behind the scenes talk between YouTube content creators, kids. You gotta, give credit where credit is due.
While it's true that there are several aspects of video making that non-YouTubers may not understand, Sauceboy's boastful tone hints at the fact that he thinks of himself quite highly in this regard. An outlook that one may expect from a veteran on the site with thousands of subscribers, but not from a person with a channel in Sauceboy's state. Combine this with the fact that nearly every aspect of his channel is ripped directly from Jimmy, it's easy to see why the situation unfolded the way it did. Sauceboy's delusions of grandeur are likely what led him to structure his review of Jimmy in such a way where he treated his own subjective opinions as concrete fact.
The problem with Mumkey's content now is, not only is it inferior to the anime review series in every way, it's not even good content by regular standards.
Say what you want about Jimmy's content, but nearly all the critiques made against it seem to be extensions of Sauceboy's contempt for seeing the anime review series come to an end. A likely reason he was found to be so loathsome in the eyes of Jimmy's fans was simply because his sense of entitlement felt unearned and misused. This is arguably what resulted in his inevitable fall from fame. Ironically, the fact that Sauceboy's channel is based entirely on continuing a series that Jimmy had cancelled will be the ultimate hindrance on his future growth. He's trying to appeal to Jimmy's audience, but because of his need to lash out at Jimmy himself, fans of the original series will be dissuaded from watching Sauceboy's continuation, and thus obliterates his entire potential audience and leaves a permanent scar on his channel that can never fade if he continues to pander to the same people he actively pushed away. He may have hoped to win over a large portion of Jimmy's audience with his arguments and simply attempted to come off as a voice of authority, but so many points were muddied by his own personal grievances that the video fell completely flat and turned the audience against him. There exists a saying that bad publicity is better than no publicity, but Sauceboy was somehow able to go about the video in such a way that made him uniquely unlikable for all the wrong reasons.
See, unlike some people, I don't drink beer and get intoxicated during my response video. I'm a sensible person and instead decide to indulge in the sweet one. And for the record, I prefer Mr. Pibb.
There are people who are cocky and rude and yet oddly satisfying to root for simply because of how they go about interacting with others even when they are in the wrong, but Sauceboy came off as pathetic and shallow simply because this confidence felt unearned, and was even made unappealing to watch ironically. It's now been nearly 2 weeks since the initial controversy, and despite Jimmy's video on him having reached over 140,000 views, Sauceboy has only gained around 200 subscribers. But in doing so, removed any potential for the rest of Jimmy's viewers to feel the need to subscribe at some point. With all ability for future growth stifled, this is truly the decay of DOS the Sauceboy. In trying to gain attention for his own series, he actively destroyed any chances he had of enabling it to succeed. Although ironically, another channel successfully pulled off what Sauceboy tried and failed to do by complete accident and came out fairly unscathed. That channel being mine. This is part of why I wanted to talk about Sauceboy's situation so badly, which is because in many ways I understand what his ultimate goal was. You could say I achieved it in some sense, but not intentionally. To go back a bit, my first channel review was on Mumkey Jones and was branded as an expose of his character when in actuality it was a conspiracy theory about him being a clone of Elliot Rodger. I tweeted it at him just for fun, but in doing so he saw it and decided to tweet it back to his followers. After an initial spike of views from Twitter, the algorithm picked up on the video and promoted it to the rest of Jimmy's fanbase. Because of this, I gained 30,000 views on the video itself, 1,000 subscribers, and 150 active watchers overnight. None of this was intended, but this was presumably similar to what Sauceboy may have hoped to obtain from his own video. Clearly the situations were alike, but there's one major distinction. When I made the video on Jimmy, I was only doing it as a one-off joke where I would copy his style and mannerisms in order to draw ridicule to them for the sake of satire. Both that video and my channel review series in general weren't and aren't intended to be replacements or alternatives for Jimmy's anime review series. You could say I copied him in the sense of making reviews reviews with a parody aspect, but in practice I try to differentiate my videos from his by pursuing different subjects, using a unique style, and trying to structure them in an original manner. I'll make Mumkey references every now and then, but other than that I try to keep things fairly separate. So, from where I'm standing, I'm only similar to him in that I have an ironic tone, and often will talk about subjects that aren't channels, much like he did with anime, or will go off topic and spiral out of control. And these are such vague comparisons that it basically can be applied to any parody channel. Plus, I didn't even come up with the idea of channel reviews from Jimmy at all. I just found him when researching parody channels and thought it would be funny to make him the focus of the first video. I'm saying all this because I want to make it clear that I don't condone what Sauceboy is, or I guess was, trying to do. When my Mumkey Jones video got popular, I pandered to my audience for a bit with Mumkey related topics so they'd watch more stuff and hopefully get interested in my reviews on their own merit, then began branching out into new and original topics. I obviously got a bit of flack for pandering the way I did, but I only went about it that way simply because I didn't want the audience I'd gotten to just bail in the first week, and as time went on they'd hopefully start to watch me for me, not just for being the Mumkey guy. I had to get them hooked first before I could expand outwards and know they'll keep watching. And that's why I have such a problem with Sauceboy. I felt so guilty about pandering out of necessity to keep an audience I'd gotten by complete accident, and here Sauceboy is attempting to purposely do just that permanently in order to build a career. He unironically copied Jimmy's series with no satirical approach taken and intended to keep doing it indefinitely to cash in on Jimmy's audience. Then trying to forcefully get himself attention by exploiting Jimmy's Patreon tier, all while having the balls to insult the guy he plagiarized and push his own opinions of what a channel should be onto him. There's nothing wrong with criticism, and I don't disagree with everything Sauceboy said in terms of the few legitimate critiques he had, but for him to sit on a high horse and tell Jimmy how to fix his channel, all while attempting to blatantly rip him off and use his review to leech off Jimmy's fanbase is laughable.
We've actually made a bigger splash here than you may think. In my video, I criticized Mumkey for monetary videos and boring Elliot Rodger content, and in the time it's taken him to make this response, he has since canceled the Elliot Rodger series and completely removed the $100 feature on his Patreon. But paying to fix a YouTube channel you don't own is inefficient at best, especially when they get rid of the button to do it with.
And it really goes to show you how genuinely stupid this guy must be, since he turned a scummy yet potentially successful publicity stunt into a completely shattered reputation in the eyes of the entire audience he was trying to appeal to.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
I mean, if a guy who brands himself as a YouTube nobody can do the exact same thing by complete accident without even spending any money and come out far better in the long run, it definitely doesn't make you look too good now, does it, Sauceboy? I'm not claiming to be above him in any sense, because for all I know, he may be as knowledgeable as he says he is. It obviously doesn't show in his videos, but still. So, from one plagiarist to another, I'm going to tell you, Sauceboy, what I would recommend doing if I were in your position. Because let's face it, you're probably watching this. Simply put, delete your channel, pull your head out of your ass, make a new account, and do something original. Your current channel will never escape the stigma it's gotten in the eyes of Jimmy's fans, at least not as long as you keep trying to appeal to them with your highly derivative content. I would say that you should use the attention you got from Jimmy's response by pandering a bit to your new subscribers and slowly easing into original content like I did, but I genuinely don't believe you have any intention of ever quitting your ripoff approach to making videos, so what's even the point? Honestly, I can empathize with Sauceboy a bit, because like I said, I was in a similar position. Plus, we make similar types of content and even made YouTube poops in a similar point in our channel's histories. Hell, you can even see me in his related channels. But despite my ability to empathize with him, I don't see him as sympathetic simply because of his distracting ego and self-righteous attitude. I'm not expecting him to listen to anything I've said thus far, but the reason I'm talking about this is simply because it highlights how easily these situations can go wrong. Sauceboy and I are very similar, and I would be lying if I said I didn't see a bit of myself in him and vice versa. Aside from our affiliations with Jimmy, we both make a lot of references to our own videos and have a lot of meta jokes. For Sauceboy, this is likely due to his self-obsessiveness, and part of me feels as if I do it for the same reason. I think there's a little bit of Sauceboy in all of us, and I feel we all have pride in what we like to do, whether on YouTube or otherwise. But Sauceboy is a clear-cut example of the fact that that pride can bubble up and inflate one's ego even when that person is fairly unaccomplished in what they're doing. The association between fame and narcissism is well known, but clearly it's not the only factor. People like Sauceboy prove that if one takes enough pride in their work and relies too heavily on their own judgment, you too can become an egotistical, self-righteous asshole even without having to have any talent at what you're doing. And as for the aforementioned Jeremiah the Gamer 8920, he is a YouTuber reviewer who Jimmy directed everyone to subscribe to in his video about Sauceboy, and someone who I've personally been asked to review before. Whether as a joke or not, that's one of the main reasons the video you're watching right now exists. After Jimmy directed his audience to subscribe to him, Jeremiah gained 12,000 subscribers over the next few days. All I can say is I hope he can use the attention he's gotten to his advantage in the future. I don't really want to review him at this point because I don't think enough time has passed to adequately judge the aesthetic of his content. But then I actually sat down to look at it myself and it was a solid 10 out of 10. So I have no shame in reviewing it right now and saying that this content is legit. Honestly, it is leagues above Sauceboy, they'll tell you that much. If one is to take anything away from the events that have transpired in these past few weeks, it's that publicity can be utilized in a variety of ways, but it can go wrong just as easily. Sauceboy is a clear-cut example of how assurance in one's own beliefs can actively turn off an audience and squash any traction that person would have received otherwise. So in short, don't be DOS the Sauceboy. If you make videos, try to be somewhat original so your content isn't completely overshadowed by someone else, especially if you intend on critiquing that person and trying to appeal to their fans. And even if you're not a YouTuber, try not to let the pride for yourself or what you do cloud your judgment and blur the line between subjective opinion and objective fact.
You're a hypocrite, Jargon. You're kidding yourself if you think you're somehow more original than Sauceboy, and less of a mumkey clone. Whether you want to admit it or not, you know that your subscribers only watch you because you're an inferior version of someone they already like. But that's not saying much. You say you've moved on, but you're lying, even to yourself. We all know that you were secretly hoping the mumkey video you made would go viral. You wanted the same thing as Sauceboy, but tried to play it off when you got it as if it wasn't your intention. What's the point of continuing your channel if you never leave the past behind and actually become original? Even in this video, you copied Mumkey's format to a T. You can call it a homage, a reference, or a callback, but I call it plagiarism. You are unoriginal scum. Even Jeremiah thinks so. Your only series is completely derivative of Mumkey's anime reviews, and you're a fool if you genuinely disagree. My advice? End this. You have no reason to exist.
You know what they say, if you establish a gun in the first act, someone has to get shot with it in the third.
How you doing, my man? You got anything to say? Tell us everything.
Mumkey killed himself in his series already!
Fucking shit.